We will adopt this agenda. Everybody wants to look over it? Any changes? Looks like we're gonna have some who are not here.
Move to adopt.
Dr. Acuff, make the motion.
Second.
Ms. Ward, second. All right, then we will just. Oh, yes, all in favor. Forgot that.
Point of order, Madam Chair. This will be a discussion item, and I have a question. Look at the heading, Budget Committee Meeting and Hearing. Does that authorize us to vote? Pass?
Was it advertised as a meeting or a hearing?
Exactly.
That's the question.
That is the question.
Did anybody find that out? Because the county attorney had some questions about it
I
too.
attempted to find out, and Gwen told me that it was actually advertised as a hearing.
You cannot vote then.
So that's
No voting.
why we kind of thought that wasn't gonna happen, so we will just mark out the meeting part. and
Just
it
a
is
hearing.
Hearing only.
Thank you.
Who made the motion in the second?
Dr. Acuff made the motion and Ms. Ward, second. When you're ready. So first up on the agenda is the animal shelter budget. Ms. Slaughter, you want to come up here?
This is the budget.
We're telling everybody 10 minutes, but since we do not have to go this the full rep like we had the other night, and it takes longer, we can accommodate.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank each of you for your continued support with the animal shelter. We've had a very productive year. We've saved many lives from coming from several different situations, and we're thankful for that. Also, I'd like to thank Miss Carolyn Watson. Every time I've had a question, she's been right there to help me. She always came out with a great answer, so I appreciate her very much. I believe together we have created a sound budget. We have had several during the past fiscal year or current fiscal year. We have encountered several continuing rising costs with our medical supplies, our veterinary services, our food costs. They're all increasing, but we've absorbed as much as we can, and we've been as conservative as we can with the taxpayers' dollars going forward. In this budget we are presenting, we have had as many costs back as possible and took as many burdens off the taxpayers as we feel we could presenting this budget. If you guys have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the budget presented. Anyone have any questions?
Let's stand by just a bit. On the very first sheet, the question is, it shows we're in the deficit on the animal control officer on attendance. And then you go down below there on the animal control officer, we got another one. Was the showed the deficit overtime on it. So on your unencumbered, it shows in.
That person moved down to the regular attendance line. She only has one animal control officer now.
Correct, Shannon?
That's correct. And that's all you need at this point, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
down below, is on your medical insurance for the same position. Why is everything in a deficit for that position only?
There was initially gonna be two, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear his question.
On the animal control, there was initially gonna be two, and there's only gonna be one.
Correct. We had talked about a part-time, but we moved that and just kept a full-time. We have rearranged our schedule that if Darren needs help or is off on the weekends, that we can use one of our full-time employees to fill that position if needed, or in case of emergency.
Well, the concern's, the only reason I'm bringing it up, not in opposition of it, is the fact that everything related to that position under the unencumbered, and you go through what's been amended and all, is in a deficit. That means that you've overspent that line item.
No, we took everything out of that line item.
Are you thinking about that because it's from red?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, you have sufficient funds to cover anything in there. It's not, you say total budget deficit. It is just for the line item.
For last year's. You're talking about last year's budget, not this year's. Okay, I was looking at this year.
Unencumbered. It's just where you're moving, it's just where she's moving.
Yeah, it's just moving
She's making
stuff
it
around. That puzzled me for a minute, 'cause wait a minute, we took that out. But I was looking at this year's.
Is this calculated on the new insurance figures?
Yes. Yeah, all the budgets tonight, I went through, which is why I didn't get them out early as I normally do, because I went in and changed all of them. So all of the insurance and stuff has been changed to the new, and so has the retirement. They've all been corrected.
So you took in 69,000 in donations and fees.
We took in what? I'm sorry.
69,000?
We are putting back 69,000 into this budget. We have increased it this year, yes, to cover some of the rising costs.
Gotcha.
So in essence, overall, this year's request, your proposed is less than last year's.
Correct.
That's what y'all done, that-
Thank you.
I mean, you
I was gonna say the same thing.
you can tell the management side of that.
Shannon, that's
She's
great.
done an amazing job on this and worked really hard to get it to where it's at.
That's, thank you. Very good job. Thank you. Very great. We have a good team. We have a good team with your support as well.
I think this is amazing.
Well, since everybody likes it, we'll just go ahead and take the rest of the night off.
Sounds good to me.
Second.
No. Y'all are here, we go. Does anybody have any other?
You see, there's always one or two that wants to object, I'm telling you.
Exactly. I've said thanks to you for too long. Any questions for Director Posada? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the Veterans Office budget, and David Batchelder could not be here. So is it in your hand? Yes, it's the next one, and there are no changes this year except for one line and he chose to purchase a copier printer as opposed to renting one, and he actually saves money. Other than that, there's really no changes from the prior year.
He's still under his last year's budget.
If anybody has any questions about the veterans budget, just direct them at Carolyn. She seems to know what's going on there. Well, it's pretty cut and dry. That's why it wasn't such a great review. We couldn't make it. We know pretty much what they do every year. I know some of you new guys are, and you'll see, you know, the same folks coming back every year, and you'll learn what their budgets are and everything.
Karen, what's that? You got that later? The percentage less in this, the request from animal shelter versus. Four. No, you'd be, your opinion about it. Less than one. Which one are you on? Veterans office.
The veterans office. Are you just now catching up?
Yeah, y'all. Should have thought Dean has to give us notes and notes.
All right, nobody have any questions about the veterans affairs? All right, then. It is very straightforward. Okay, the next one would be, Mayor Woodby. You are up.
It's just a simple operating budget. It's actually, we've cut down. It's less than last year's request. So if you have any questions about anything, let me know. Once we get through there, we are going to discuss, Chad Lewis is here to discuss the tax relief program. So once you all, unless you have any other questions about anything else in the budget besides that, we're going to leave that piece out for a minute.
That skewed a little bit because of tax relief. Use it a little bit as far as the bottom line. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. So tax relief, percentage that skews the.
Set that one aside for now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about pulling that tax relief out of my budget. It should not be there. We've had to do a little bit of research on that, and it looks like it's not supposed to be there.
Okay.
Who does that shift to?
We're going to shift it to the commission,
Commission budget.
or it can go in Chad's budget, whichever one he's going to.
I I would have just assumed Portland, only because of what you do down there.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, does anyone have any questions about any of the other line items before we jump into this tax relief? That I need to answer or questions?
Well. It's only amended by
Well, that'd be the minute, because that'd be the last that was. Just a minute would be
Yeah,
the
because
most
that
current.
takes out the commission's budget, which is in a separate department now.
So that, less than 15.
Yeah, and keep in mind too, that the elected official increases are in here. So that majority. They are.
Yeah, the legal officials will be, so those mandated
Yes.
raises are in there.
Yeah, they're state mandated, so I've put them in.
Do y'all have any questions for Mayor Woodby before we move on to this part of the tax relief?
They would say, well, blanket there.
Which part?
Everything.
Less money? I tried.
She's lost her little money.
Chad's gonna discuss the tax, we have the tax relief program has been in my budget as far along as I've been here, and then previous mayors, I assume. And so I've done some research today, and speaking with some other finance directors, Carol and I both, and some other mayors, we're not real sure why it's in my budget, because it really skews the numbers, because this is just a basic operating budget, and I don't see anything to do with the tax relief. Chad handles every bit of that, so I've asked him to come tonight and explain the tax relief program, what it consists of, and how we make up these numbers, and then he's just kind of going to give us some information, and then, kind of go from there.
Okay, good evening. As all of you know, we have a tax relief program that is from the state of Tennessee. And the county, Carter County, participates in that program because we give up to $40 per applicant to those who are accepted in that program. We have recently been emailed by the comptroller's office our 2023 appraisal ratio. And that ratio last year and the previous years was at a 1.0, which is the highest it can be. Okay, that's the highest it can be, which means appraisals are here and sales are pretty comparable, right? So in 2021, we had reevaluations, right? That was our reevaluation year. So they went out and did those. That was right before the boom hit, okay? So now what we're dealing with, and the reason I come to you tonight, what we're dealing with is we have appraisals here, which we went by state standards and rules back in 2021. We now have sales that are here. There's a massive difference in a lot of different properties where we have appraisals here and now they're being sold here. I looked at one the other day and the appraisals, I think around 740, and they're asking several million for the place on a website on the internet. That's in our county. So what has happened is whenever they've come out and did that appraisal ratio, they're requesting that the State Board of Equalization bring ours down to 0.7212, which is a massive decrease. Okay, that ratio is what is in the equation for the tax relief, what those applicants actually receive. So we've done some calculations today, and out of the 1,856 people who were actually accepted this past year, okay, they've received that $40. We're really going to need to try to up that. That's why I'm here tonight, because that 0.7212 is actually going to drop those elderly and disabled tax reliefers from $152 down to approximately $110. okay? And that don't seem like a whole lot, but to many of those people, that's a lot, okay? Also, on the veteran side of the tax relief program, they get up to $888 from the state, and we give 40, okay? They're going to be cut down to $640. That's almost $250 per applicant that they're going to lose that money. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't go out and reappraise the properties. We can't, I mean, that's something that's just, we can't do that. That's not in the statutes. We have to wait till 2026 to do that because we're on a 5-year term. Okay. Some counties I've researched, some are on 4, some are on 5. There are some on 6, I believe, but we are on 5. So what I've looked at is in the budget there, it shows 63.5, I think is what was in there for that tax relief line item. I would like to ask that we move that to 90,000. And what that does is that actually gives each applicant, okay, up to $20 more. Just 20. Not double or not even what some counties do. Some counties match what the state gives, which would be 152. They actually match it. I understand we don't have the revenue to do that. I completely understand that. So instead of asking for double, which I really thought about, I thought instead of asking for a lot and having to compromise, let's just be fair and see if we can't up it to where they at least would be getting something back from the county since they're losing so much money. Like I said, there was 1,856 applicants that were accepted, 2,088 applied. Those 232 were declined. Some of those may have been deceased. Some of those may have just not turned in their proper paperwork by April 5th. Last year, our calculations, we've added up everything, which we're still in the end stages of actually processing these tax relief payments, but we're looking at just $26 shy of $59,000 is what we'll have paid out in tax relief for this past fiscal year. So that's what we're looking at. So if we could, move that to 90,000, that would at least help those people out a little bit. I mean, it's going to be tough on them. We're looking at, we all know we're looking at a possible increase in taxes. They're also looking at an increase in taxes and a decrease in the amount of tax relief they're going to be getting. There's nothing we can do about it except try to help them out on our side of it. Does anybody have any questions?
How many did you say was getting this relief?
There's 1,856 that were accepted this past fiscal year. There was 2,088 that was 1,856. And we usually average around the 2,000 mark. And this year might have been a little bit lower. But then again, if you think about it, if we're going to have a possible tax increase, those people here that they're not, the word's going to get out. So everybody's going to be saying, hey, go down and get your tax relief, So we may actually see a little bit of a bump in people wanting that tax relief. And that's people that's 65 or older and make less than 31.6. That is going to increase to 33,460. That will increase to 33,460. The state has sent that out to me as well. So for tax relief, 65 years or older, they're increasing that limit to 33,460 for everyone that lives in that household, and you have to be a permanent resident. If grandson lives in there and he's working, you count their income too.
So less than 33,000.
Less than, yes. And that's on the disabled or the elderly, okay? The veterans, we don't have to ask them their income. We don't ask them their income. So,
Well, according to the 2020 census, that means about 90% of the one you're looking at, the base income for the age group, 90% don't even come close to that when the
No,
average level comes in at 17%, 15,000 a year, I mean.
there's been just a very few times that I've seen somebody be just that short of getting it, maybe once or twice this past tax season, and they would now qualify. So it's not, it's not that big of a deal, but at least they are seeing inflation and they're increasing it for those people that may apply.
Estimated amount by increasing it by, you say you're recommending $40. What the estimated total at the end would be?
We're looking at about 90,000. Is that what you're asking me about?
90,000.
6,500.
You had 59,000 last year and you got.
Yes. Yeah, it's around $30,000. Yeah, every $30,000 I calculated was about $20 that they were getting in tax relief. And that 30,000 is what we're paying out, basically.
Is it your intention to absorb this into your office or?
Oh, no, I don't have anything.
Not in your budget, but in the line item, they had mentioned moving it to your department.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely for that, if that's what Ms. Carolyn would like to do. I know there's another one, I think the commission budget that we could possibly put it in as well, since you all actually have to vote on that too. But we could talk about that and you all can decide. But yeah, I'm definitely for that since we work in it. It probably shouldn't be in the mayor's budget, so.
All right.
Anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you, sir.
I'll leave you with this right here. The elderly, disabled, and our veterans should be people we look after and help as much as we can. $20 more is not a lot to some people, but to many on the tax relief, it could mean whether they buy their medicine or not. And that's tough to hear.
It comes down to the elderly in this county, those over 65 years old, that they have to make a decision. A lot of times, do I buy food, or do I buy my life saving thing? That's tough.
It is. It's tough to hear.
And I know we're in a tough year. We're gonna have to raise taxes to make ends meet. But the poor and the elderly needs to be what we try to take care of
I agree.
in this county.
I agree.
I'm glad I don't have to make that decision every time I get a prescription filled. Many of them do. Or do they have their lights turned off and they sit in the dark? As a minister, we pay a lot of gas bills and electric bills. I use a credit card to pay people's light bills with on my phone. Otherwise, they wouldn't have no electricity.
Thank you, Donnie. I'll just finish by saying I ask that you examine this closely and think about these folks that we call mom and dad and grandma and granddad. These people don't get raises like we working people do. And I think us as leaders in the community, we should do everything in our power to look after these folks who have paid their dues for many, many years. Thank you.
Okay. All right, next up. Come on.
In the EMA budget, I hope you've had time to look over it. Couple of increases because we did take on Mark in our building. So we've had to up the utilities a little bit. Water and electricity, I did have to put in increases for him now that he's in our office. Increase in fuel because we just don't know about the cost of that. Our cable bill, it did go up. I talked to them personally last week. I was very upset about that, but we have to have cable at our office. We have to have, in case we was to ever have a bad incident, we would have to be able to have the cable news channels. So that's basically why we have to have the cable. And it's going up. The one major thing that I did put in here is I did put in here for a new vehicle. And some of y'all may remember about 5 or 6 years ago, we asked for a new vehicle and we got denied then, but we did get a used vehicle. Y'all give us $18,000 to get a used vehicle and we did buy a 2012 Tahoe. So the reason I did put that in as a suggestion for you all, we have two 2012 vehicles, two 11-year-old vehicles, and then we have a 15-year-old vehicle. So they don't have a tremendous amount of miles on them, but they're getting some age on them, and I just want to, to consider this. We do have to respond to emergencies. I've been dispatched twice this week on calls through 911. And we do have to do a lot of state training. We have to go to Nashville a lot. We have to go to Knoxville a lot. And I have to go to Knoxville next week for the state. And they do give us $45,000 every year to try to help our budget. That money goes directly into the general fund. I never see a check. It goes directly into the general fund. So they do give us $45,000 to try to help fund us. So I talked to the people at Wilson Chevrolet, which has the state bid for the Tahoes. And she said that this year's price is going to be around $47,500. So that's what I put in, $47,500 for a 2023 Tahoe four-wheel drive. And the main thing is, another reason I put that in is because the lady at Wilson told me that we would be lucky to get it within 6 to 8 months. If we put that order in July the 1st, it would still be 6 to 8 months out. So if it wasn't for the vehicle, my budget would only be around $3,000 more than last year. And that's just for utilities and gas, cable, and communications. That is the reason that there is an increase, and that is for the vehicle. So I wish y'all would consider it. Like I said, every department but us has gotten brand new vehicles, and I'm glad they was able to get them. Reappraisal got 3 brand new ones. Planning got 2 brand new ones. Ron, he got a brand new truck. He had to wait a long time on his truck.
Waited a year for it.
Waited a year on his vehicle. So just something to consider on that. And I put in the notes why that we have asked for increases there. In your all's copy, you should see some notes. And like I said, there's, other than the vehicle, I tried to keep it as minimum as I could.
Director, just would it not be just as good for pickup?
We have to haul so much equipment, Brad. I can't walk in and out of a pickup truck to get all of our equipment and it get wet. We would have to have a camper top of some kind. And with all of our equipment, trying to get in the back of a camper top truck to get our equipment, it just wouldn't work. And I've thought about that. And one thing that, may work, and I've thought about this, is maybe some type of utility bed, kind of like Ron's got, where we could access all sides, and doors and have locking doors. We'd have to have locking doors on all sides to grab our gear. Because the back of our Tahoes are full of gear. We have air packs, we have all kinds of booms and oil dry pads. We have a lot of, just for water related issues mostly. And that's what most of our calls are really, because TDEC requires us to go on water related accidents. Anytime there's a vehicle in a water due to a sheen, we have to go and we have to report that to TDEC. That is part of our protocol for 911. And those are most of any type of accident with 25 gallons of fuel or more, we're required to go on. And that's where our cleanup comes from. And that is in part of my budget. I do have some money in here for environmental cleanup. If people do not have insurance, then I've got $800 to help with environmental cleanup. And that's digging up the dirt and replacing the dirt. That's where that money goes for.
A new Tahoe is over $80,000. That's a pretty good discount that the states,
Yep, and that's what she told me.
they did.
You wouldn't by chance look to see, or you may even after this, maybe you could get a cab and then look at the cost of what a bed for the back end,
Like a pull-out bed.
something that where you can hang.
We would have to have the pull-out bed like law enforcement has.
Have you had a chance to look at that, see what the difference would be on it?
No, the only ones I looked at was I compared the Tahoe and the Expedition, and the Expedition was $4,000 more than the Tahoe. We would have to have something kind of like that. That's what they've always had, and that's what most emergency managers from here to Knoxville have, is some kind of SUV, either a Suburban or a Tahoe. But yeah, I can look at a utility bed, but yeah, we would have to have the full pull-out to get to our gear on all sides.
I thought, maybe that you can't get vehicles fast enough, just like the sheriff's department and everybody else. That maybe the cab sitting there with the frame and the bed, and both of them available for immediate.
Yes. Yeah,
Cost a couple thousand more, but
yeah,
the availability of it, and then the
yeah.
bed, which would be better use for you if you think that would be so.
Yeah, it just has to be a VA, because we do tow our big command trailer. We towed it to the Gatlinburg Fires. We have to have a hitch with the receiver process. We have to have a 4-wheel drive, because we do have to go up on the mountains a lot in the snow. And it just has to be, like I said, a hitch and 4-wheel drive and a VA. That's what we have to have. That's the minimum. And with all three of our vehicles, just for future reference, we're going to have to eventually get on a rotating schedule to try to get all three of these rotated out over the next few years. So.
Yeah, the communications vehicle that we brought on for that new position from the sheriff's department, it's probably been in the shop more than he's had it on the road. We've spent a ton of money, and we've had to increase his budget due to maintenance on that vehicle.
The gentleman's school.
Yeah, it seems to be in the shop more than he's been able to use it. So he's been sharing with Billy, I think, Mark has. So it's been, all three of those vehicles are.
Yeah, and I appreciate.
In maintenance.
I appreciate the sheriff's department they give that to us. So that's how we have a third vehicle. They give us an old Tahoe. But really, we've spent a ton of money on it. But they was nice enough to give us one. And it is running. He's using it every day now. It's working good.
Well, they were wore out when I left there. You've had this additional tenure.
And that's why they give us the one that they give us, because it was completely wore out.
Diligent people. At least they're consistent.
And Billy also, everybody's aware that we have an opening for a deputy EMA director.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask to be on the agenda for next month's budget, but I'll just give you a heads up. I figured up last week what I've spent on Kevin. I hate to see him go, but I've spent over $6,000 on Kevin, sending him to classes and his uniforms and everything. So I don't have that money, and we're going to hire somebody before next year's budget kicks in. So I am going to have to come in front of the budget next month and ask for around $6,000.
Kevin's not leaving the county. He's just going over to the sheriff's department.
Right. Kevin is going to the sheriff's department for the raise. They got the raise, and that's the reason I'm losing Kevin. If you don't know that, he's turned in his notice, so he's going to be going back to the sheriff's department where he came because they got the raise. And he's been good. Like I said, I hate to lose him because he always does everything I ask him. but, I do have one resume that's come in, that's all I have, so.
That's an easy fix. Just get the money off Mike.
Yeah, that'd be nice, yeah, yeah.
Wasn't bad enough.
Yeah, exactly. If I can just compare what Mike's gonna pay him, he may just stay with me. But yeah, next month, just a heads up, I will be coming to ask.
The number 2 man's full salary in here for the proposed budget.
Yes, it's in there. Yeah.
You're less than 60 days from the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. The cutoff is April the 27th is when we're gonna try to hire somebody after the April the 27th. And the reason is 2 weeks after that is when I take 2 weeks vacation. So I have to have somebody in place.
So what does that have to do with the price of
Those
it?
fish won't
2
mind
weeks, you're not
no
gonna
time.
train anybody you hire unless.
No, but I could at least start on his uniforms and get him some training. So if I had that money for uniforms at least, I could go ahead and order the uniforms because that's a month out pretty much. So I'd like to just at least have the money for the uniforms because if I don't get nobody else to put in, I know the one guy size that I'll have to hire. So I'm kind of in a predicament.
Uniform.
All right, does anybody?
Well, and the reason it's because we're a professional organization and I want us to look professional. I mean, y'all can understand that.
You could put that in the job description, same size, same height and weight and everything is.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice, but unfortunately, he was a pretty big sized guy, so I don't know if I'll get anybody to wear his uniform.
Talk about them all looking professional.
All right, does anybody have any other questions about the EMA budget before we move on to the inspection budgets? Or is
I
that
don't know
still
what the
considered
inspection
part of it?
budget is, but I'm here to
What
answer
is
any
that? It
questions.
was on with you.
It's the same as last year.
Okay.
But we can do without an increase or additional funds for the 60 days. And when your new budget comes in,
Okay.
it comes in 60 days and 75% of the schools, this will be in April. Maybe the biggest majority of them wouldn't start till July and August. I'd say let's.
Tonight, if you just want to add the 6,000 more on there, 5,000 for in-service and 1,000 for uniforms, if you want to put it onto this budget, I can do that. Yeah.
I believe that would work out a whole lot better.
So if y'all will put 5,000 in in-service and 1,000 in uniforms on there.
All right, anything else?
DC Sanford was civil defense.
Yeah, civil defense, yeah.
Had the front office here, little bitty room.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other.
Okay. I'm here for the coroner's budget also. so-
Oh, okay. I should say, don't forget that.
Yeah, the mayor asked me if I would do the coroner's budget last year, so I took over that. So, a couple things on, if y'all pull the coroner's budget out. He did not have a, line item 451, and I had Carolyn to put in a 451 for him, because he does wear a uniform shirt, and he didn't have a line item for a uniform, so I'm requesting $400 to be put in that line item for Benny because he does wear a uniform, and I'd like to buy him some new shirts. So I put in a 451 for him. I increased a little bit of for his medical supplies in case the body bags do go up. I increased a little bit for his gasoline and for his communications line item. And other than that, it's pretty close to what he had. But there's just a few additions that just for the things that we just don't know about communications and gasoline. And like I said,
About him a new vehicle 2 years ago, wasn't it? Or a year and a half ago.
and like I said, he didn't have a uniform and I wanted him to have a uniform line item. And it's working real good now that he's working with me, because he can access his body bags at my office anytime, because I put them out front in the locked vestibule to where he has a key to. And it used to, he had to go to the mayor's office to get his body bags. And now I'm ordering his body bags for him, and he can go 24 hours a day and get access to his body bags if he needs them over at my office.
Yeah, we readjusted a little bit of that.
Last thing I'm gonna have is
It's just, we got hold of on the body bag.
I worry about when it's time for him to retire. He does a mighty.
Yeah, and just to, I want to let y'all know, Benny's got a little bit of health issues he's had this year. And eventually, we're probably going to have to look about hiring him some part-time help or something, or getting some people trained. And he's approached me about it. You know, when he was in the hospital for 2 weeks, the office of ETSU had to come over and do the bodies. And they actually got upset over it because they was having to come over so much. And they told him, and he told me that they told him that you're going to have to get some help. So that's something to think about. Eventually, we may have to try to get him some part-time help.
Well, I think eventually he's here. He's asking for it now. The amount of bodies, and that's, you're gonna see that when this forensics contract comes up, has increased tremendously in Carter County. We've got one person, one coroner, who goes on every bit of those calls. And what we're seeing is a lot of overdoses, and they're just ravaging through here. The amount's tripled. He is asking and reaching out. He's saying he's going to need some help, and he is eventually planning on leaving. So we've got to transition someone else into that role.
So I wanted to let y'all know, because it does require some training through the ETSU morgue over there. I don't know what all it requires, but you do have to have some training. And it may be something to think about. Delissa, I talked to her. She knows somebody that's an EMT at their fire department that said he would be willing to go through the training and maybe work part-time with Benny, you know, whenever we do decide to try to get him some help. So I do have somebody, Delissa's got somebody in mind at the Watauga Fire Department that may could help him out, so.
That's interesting, you know, 4 years ago, hearing the Quillen DA raising beef with the sheriff and law enforcement because they wanted to be called and brought in on everything they did in an investigation that had to do with the body, natural, whatever. And now they're telling you they're getting tired of coming over. I figured it's about. But they go over to class, you know, there's an art to tying the right knot when you put that tag around the toe. These things like that.
A fisherman's knot.
Huh?
A fisherman's knot.
Shoot, you gotta be talented, son. You been.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Billy. All right, I believe county buildings, would this be you, sir? Mr. Carden, come on over.
All right, there's a lot in this budget. I don't think much has changed, but the notes on there, I guess y'all can see. I think our contracted services is up maybe a little bit. It didn't go up, but our credit services looks like I don't have any control over that. Building improvements, we're looking at 47%. We've got quite a bit we're gonna try to do this year. Lighting over at the annex. We've got all the lighting in most of the county buildings and the courthouse, the LED now, which is saving us some money on our utilities, also on our maintenance, ballast. We've done away with our boiler now. We'll have to add some air conditioning units out in these hallways at the end. We'll no longer have the radiators. And we'll try to get that out of there. far as that's totally what I can see we're changing. We're asking for a trailer. We move a lot of stuff. We do a lot of, moving around the courthouse and all the other county buildings. We always have to go try to fund a trailer off of, the sheriff's department. And right now, with them getting their crews back on the road, their trailers getting hard to come by. We would like to buy one to have for us. For heating and air units are pretty good. I think we're gonna probably look at replacing one in the registrar's office for next year or two. That's the oldest one we have in the building now. Most of the rest of them are new. As I mentioned, we've lost our boiler. We're doing away with it, so we're gonna recoup that insurance. And we're asking to be added back into a line item to use on these air conditioning units. The thing blew out last year, and we went through the winter with it. With the new units that we replaced in the finance department, we did go steam with electrical. So really, the only thing we have in this building now steam is the 4 radiators. We're doing away with all that. That's going to save us $6,000 boiler insurance. Other than that, I can't really see a whole lot of changes unless y'all see something. Our contracted services, that includes our mowing, landscaping. I think our floor maintenance is probably going to come out of that. We have money in there for a part-time custodian. We're leaving there because we're not sure what's going to happen there. Right now, we got the sheriff's department helping us out. And, that could change at any point in time. We don't want to give that back and then find out we got to hire someone.
We just not been able to fill the thing.
Yeah, we're not sure what's going to happen there. No increases in pay for anyone in the office this year. We got a new truck. As y'all know, we are going to be looking for a home soon. I don't know what's going to happen there, so we can't really plan for it. Some of these numbers will come down when we turn the workforce development back away, turn it to the state, but we don't have a definite date on that. So we can't really decrease those line items and turn around, something happen, take 6 months more to take care of that part. So, other than that, I see, unless y'all have some questions, that's all I have. Man,
Phone system.
a new phone system, yeah.
We have budgeted for
It is
the
in
phone
there.
system. We are gonna have to replace that.
The phones we have in the county now, we can't even get the phones for them anymore. We've been able to find refurbished up till now, and they're getting really hard to come by. So I think we're looking at maybe a voice over IP type system for, that Anthony's working on for us. And we're looking at that to happen this year at some point in time. I think that's, under capital outlay, under other capital outlay.
On line item 399, other contract services, which is, from 13,000 up to a 38 request, IT service and alarm monitoring.
Well, you got alarm monitoring, mowing is paid out of that, which is, mowing and landscaping. We've also, pursue our floor maintenance. We picked up the floor maintenance. We're doing a yearly contract with them.
All the elevator, all the fire alarms, every contract
Alarm monitoring.
we have is coming out of that. And we also combined line 312, which
Pest
is
control.
contracts with private agencies. We don't use that line anymore. We just did it in one line item. So it's all combined in one spot.
Some of this changes is where I'm trying, I know Carolyn is too, over the years, a lot of this has been reported under building maintenance. It's really not building maintenance. We're trying to get the line items saying what they need to say, so we can have a better picture of where the money's actually being spent.
Well, you just about have to be, Mr. Kirby, because they've never done anything before.
We're trying.
I mean, that's just one point. It's only been in the past 3 years.
2.5.
Don't fix.
I feel like we try to keep the money down.
I haven't been here through yet.
No, but I'm going from when I had it passed to split the fund.
We've completed quite a bit of projects. Last
There's
2.5
been more
years.
done in, I'm gonna say,
We're down to having all new heat and air
3
units
months,
except for one.
26 days, 4 hours and 17 minutes. that's ever been done here in the past 20, because our buildings have got to a point that it was pitiful.
Wrong to what we ran
They're in
into.
good shape, man.
They're in good shape right now.
For instance, an annex, we're putting a new cooling tower on the roof tomorrow. It's covered under insurance. Have to us on their own blackouts. And once we do that, we've replaced every unit in that annex. The lower units, the upper units. We should have, 25, 30 years of good service out of that stuff. It's a water-based heat pumps that last a long time.
I think I sent the email out updating everybody on the old jail area. That is clean and good condition and is ready to be utilized for its next step, I guess.
We're up there once a week looking and making sure we don't have any problems now, so we're trying to stay on top of that. We don't, we're gonna actually work on this winter or this summer, get some air circulating up on that second floor. And try to keep, we had a slight mold problem, we took care of that. Problem being is over the years, the units have been robbed of spare parts to keep the units downstairs. So there's gonna be some maintenance.
Those ceiling VAVs downstairs, that's one of the rough.
Well, no, what we've got over there are water-based heat pumps. And we're talking about the annex. And all the cell blocks had a water-based heat pump in them. What they've done over the past 10 years or 12 years, how long it's been closed over there, they've had a problem near the park. They went and robbed it off one of the units upstairs. So, we're gonna try to get some air moving. I don't know what it'll take. I don't think it'll be too bad.
During and after the election period, they were in a project to replace all of the roof units on. Is that, it went dead as far as anybody reported, is it?
Well, no, that's in the process right now.
Roof units on the jail. Yeah, that's it. We're about to submit that out for bid.
I've actually got a meeting Tuesday morning.
Were you talking about all the units for the jail?
No, it should be what, 37?
There's 40.
Yeah, about 4 units.
Yeah, we're getting ready to submit that out for bid.
37 and 40, they ain't the one difference.
I think there's close to 40. It's ready for bid.
Would
It's
you
getting ready.
mind? I'd give it to you.
We've got the prints and we've got the specs. Meeting Tuesday to try to get the RFP ready to get it in the paper, get the bids going out.
I thought it already been done, son, because
No, we
remember,
had
the
to-
problem then was the heat problem in the jail. All the election was going on.
Yeah.
And it was corrected. And I thought that.
They just robbed from other units to try to get those up and running, and that's what's caused us all the issues.
Yeah, and we got,
We're actually meeting on that Tuesday. We got a meeting over here with the sheriff and the engineers and purchasing with finance, and we're gonna be putting that out for bid hopefully the next couple of weeks.
we gotta get it done quick.
We've got a time sensitive money we've got to deal with there on the grant. We're scrambling, trying to get it ready.
Well, I think in considering inflationary times and what we've done here, this is a small increase in this budget considering previous years. We've really been very conservative with where we're at on this budget. And that includes $150,000 budgeted for a new phone system. We've really cut and moved around, and a lot of the things that we've replaced and done are now starting to show in our budgets, like the electricity, the LED lighting, the boiler, which we're removing. It was $6,000 a year that we were paying on the insurance. That's coming off. So there's a lot of things that we're starting to see the fruits of in this budget.
And then, as soon as we get ready, we'll have a tremendous savings on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and we have the windows and the guttering project, and that'll help the electricity line even more.
Next Friday, we're having a pre-construction. They're getting ready to move their equipment in, so I foresee that starting pretty quick.
Yeah.
The project's been, awarded, and so I'd say after next week, it'll start as soon as they get the windows they're ordered. But we're moving on pretty quickly. Now it's waiting on, like I say, the cornice is gonna take a while to get to, the gutter cornice. That's all custom made around this front of this building, so. But as far as I know, all that's on order. And we actually found a company out of a local company that specializes in historic restorations.
They're out of Ashton, Tennessee, and the bid came in $300,000 cheaper than the estimated.
Come in a little under 700,000. We had budgeted, quite a bit more for that. So
Budgeted.
that was a pleasant surprise.
So on that line, the item 502, the building and contents insurance, is that what what our broker projected that to go up based off all the projects.
What line was that? I'm sorry. 502.
Insurance.
Second page.
I don't think I've even got their most recent, what was it?
That's, yes.
Okay. Just making sure, because
Yeah, well,
who was doing the estimate was kind of my concern, because I've seen it come in before and then be 3 times what.
Well, we're going through the renewal process right now, but this is what we know happens. It could change because we just started the renewal process. So there are increases in there. Based on the information we have, that's where we're at, but I can't guarantee it won't come in more.
There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different
Exactly.
projects moving here and there, so that's kind of where my concern was with that.
Things are going away, things are being added, so it's really hard to tell at this point.
Anything else?
any other questions? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Stand up, we're gonna need a break.
Magic.
Madam Chair,
Okay,
when I show up
Yes.
to this, it's gonna say,
we'll take a break.
Woodbury.
Yes, if y'all want to.
Something wrong with
All right.
it.
Let's take a 10-minute break, guys.
I'll let Ron have it.
Hey.
We want to take a quick break.
We,
10 minutes. If you wait on here, go get locked out.
you ain't ladies gonna have to learn.
You told me to crack the whip, I'm cracking the whip.
Yeah, but I don't,
We are back in session, and first up is communications.
Well, we've had a pretty good year so far. I got some of my test equipment in, I got some of my tools and things in place and getting things put together. Get the shop put together. I was able to, because I had already purchased a lot of the test equipment, we were able to cut about $60,000 out of budget, so we got that out of the way. And then, we did have a couple small increases for some software, some office supplies, and some more workbench type tools and workbench to work from as an electronic workbench. And then I was going to get a all-in-one printer scanner, something that probably wouldn't pay to lease anything. I was just getting a small desktop unit, so I was wanting to get something like that. And then we have a couple other pieces of little test equipment that I wanted to get. I was going to see if I could find some good refurbished stuff to buy with the remaining $19,000 there in that part of the budget. So. That's about it.
Your projections, just an estimate, not to hold your feet to the fire, because there's a lot of multiples to it. When do you think we're going to be able to go hot?
Well, we're running into a little bit of a delay with the Forest Service right now.
That's the only one.
That's the biggest delay we've got right now, is waiting on the approval to get White Rock up and running. Everything else we've got moving forward. Avery County, I went over with a meeting with them, shook hands with them. Everything looks great. The state of North Carolina is going to do a tower study on their tower. So they're going to pay that $50,000 to check their tower, which is awesome. We don't have to pay that. So they're going to check on the tower loading on that one so we can go on that tower. I'm waiting on that, but that should come about here within the next month or so.
The tower in North Carolina, since we're going over our boundaries, in the agreement, are they going to be able, other North Carolina authorities use the tower that is going to be used by us?
Yes.
They're
The
going
state
to
of North Carolina has a similar system to the TACAN network like we have over here in Tennessee. They have a similar network called the Viper network for radios, and they're actually going on that tower with us at the same time. And that's one of the agreements we have, is they're actually going to be able to, the technicians on both states are actually going to be able to marry those two systems. So we're going to have intercommunications between the states up and down the North Carolina and Tennessee border.
I would guess it so happens that the U.S. Forestry that's holding it up is actually the hub of the whole thing.
Pretty much. Equipment acquisition is probably going to go ahead, and it looks like everything as far as equipment coming in is going to be okay. They're able to work with other systems that are actually going in that are delayed. They can actually take equipment and move it around. So Motorola's not going to have, as far as we know, predictions are they're not going to have a delay for ordering equipment to put our system on. Just got to wait for the system up on White Rock before we move forward with that. And the Forest Service, as I understand it, lost a supervisor that was supposed to approve this, and they're supposed to hire somebody to get them back in that position. And I'm not exactly sure where they're at in that process right now. So it was really bad timing on our part. We missed it by about that much.
Is that for the special use that you're waiting on?
Actually, we're waiting on, we're going to build a new tower.
Well, you have to have.
Is the plan?
Yeah, you have to have the study.
So they have to have a NEPA study done up there and several different things come into play on that particular site.
You have to have environmental impact statement.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take a while.
Yeah, that'll take a little while, but I just want the check mark to say, go ahead, so we can start moving with the rest of this. And that's the part we want. We want the thumbs up from, so we can move forward. So.
This looks fairly cut and dry. Does anybody have any questions for me? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the poppers, the next one is the popper burials. Is that something?
We're just asking for an increase in it because we've already had to amend the budget this year twice. We are just seeing more and more individuals in our community that qualify for this program. So we're having to, even, we're doing checks and balances everywhere on it, checking, and they're just absolutely indigent. So basically, most of them are in the court system, and if they're declared indigent in the court system, then we know they're indigent on our end. But it's more and more, so we had to amend it twice. So we just kind of went ahead and we're trying to maybe get through next year without having to come in with a request to bring it out of the red once we get there. But you just really can't ever tell. There's no way to predict how many people are going to qualify for this program. So that's our best guesstimate. So we've asked an extra $3,000 to go into it.
Do that, do they just?
They'll cremate them, and then if there's family there, they can come pick up their remains.
Nobody have questions on this one? We know what this one's for. Okay. So next up is gonna be the contracts with, DPSU pathology. They're having a budget increase.
Yeah, that's our forensics contract. I was over there last week with Dr. Block at ETSU, and we sat down and they were asking for a 10% increase. We negotiated quite nicely. We got it down to 5. So that's where we're at with them, but they have also seen increases in their salaries, and we also pay a monthly payment to the new facility that's there. Each county does pay for that. It was in an agreement when that facility was built several years ago. So they're seeing the same increases that we are. So they were asking for a 10%. We sit down and kind of spoke about where we're at in Carter County and what things look for us here, and he agreed, and so we've got it down to the 5% increase. So that puts it at $132,000 next year.
Anybody? Any questions for the mayor?
No, I don't have any questions. I do want to comment on Commissioner Johnson's statement a little bit earlier regarding the relationship between the Jenkins Forensic Center there at ETSU and the relationship with our coroner. I do remember in the last several times that we've negotiated with ETSU, they wanted to be here every time somebody dropped dead. And now they're telling us that they don't want to be here.
I think it was at that time period, they had just hired a forensic pathologist that was from Chicago. When she came in the door, everything started, I will say upside down or whatever.
Right.
But we'll have her fingers.
I do think, Mayor, I mean, I don't talk to Bill Block about anything involving the forensic center, but I do think we need to let them know that when we need them, we need them. And I don't want our coroner to be mistreated or be told that we're not gonna come to your county.
Yeah.
You better find somebody to help because we ain't coming no more. So it's just my feeling.
Anything else on that one? Okay, now the next one. We're gonna go right on to landfill. Obviously, Director Lyons cannot be here. He's on medical leave. So,
I'll answer any questions I can, because I did assist him with the budget. This budget does have the changes in the insurance and pensions as well. Since I had to go in and do revisions anyway, I went ahead and did that, so it doesn't have to come back again.
I have a question on the part-time personnel at Elk Mills. 75% increase.
He does have one additional part-time person. There was a gentleman that had been working part-time previous to him taking two full-time, or two part-time and making them full-time. That was, I think, gonna be one of them, because he was also a truck driver. He ended up resigning, but he has since come back. And then, one of his ladies that worked inside the building had been out on medical leave, and they hired a girl part-time to come in and assist. She is still there because they, from what I understood from the director, they still needed to utilize her services.
Is that the
on a
convenience
part-time
center?
basis.
At the convenience center?
Yes, it's in the wherever the building is. I've not been up there, so I'm, because you've been up there, it's in the building that they have their offices.
Yeah, they just got a small building there.
At the landfill. So we have 3 now in there and plus the director.
I mean, that's what I understood that she was. I've not been up there and observed it, but that's what I understood from him.
At the Milligan Convenience Center, he's got it Elk Mills here. There's one person there.
She's talking about.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the.
I'm not talking about
office.
the landfill. I'm talking about the attendant at Elk Mills, the part-time.
Yes, there's just the one,
There's one.
yes.
Well, they got his salary over here, $16,950. That's $20 an hour. If you look at the payroll sheet, it's over that too. He only works 104 days a year, or a year, whatever it is.
It's like payroll was supposed to be in these at all. That was gonna be it. It don't.
16,950
Hang on, let me
calculates to a little $20 an hour.
let me look at the payroll schedule. Sorry, I was thinking of Little Mill. There is an additional part-time person in there, but I don't know if they're Elk Mills or not. He doesn't have that designated, so I'm not really sure. Do you know, Gary?
Just thought this was perfect.
Yeah, there's only one person up there.
Okay, yeah, so I still say, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I know there is another part-time person in that grouping at this point. Do you think Stephen would be able to answer that question? Okay, I mean, I can ask Stephen and let you know. He's, up there at this point, so I can ask him. So you're thinking that the person at Elk Mills should just be part-time? Is that the question? I want to make sure I have it clear.
Yeah, because he's only there 2 days a week. Wednesday
Okay.
and Saturday.
Unless he's utilized in another location on the other days. I don't really know that much detail about the operation.
Maybe working at the landfill, I don't know, but
That's what I'm probably thinking.
he only works up there 2 days a week. The
From her office.
hourly rate is that one person, $7 an
This
hour.
is what I'm getting, it shows part-time.
Yeah, I will say that we found, as we were working on his budget, he has some people misclassified. He was supposed to go through his people and basically look at the line items that he has them charged to, make sure they are being charged to the correct line item. That's not something that we can do. We have to go by whatever the director tells us. So that is a possibility as well, because I know there were some people that were being charged to the wrong line item. I found it as we were going through this budget process and pointed it out to him. So, but that would be up to him or whoever's doing that position for him in his absence to make those corrections.
The top, it shows the part.
You know, we should be paying any attention if they happen to have recommendations like on the budget increases, showing employees raises, pay, or anything related to pay, because that's our final decision to make, not them. If it has no bearing at all. Because once we make a decision here to budget, and the rest is a full commission as to what the hourly rate increase is, that will be added on to all the rest of these, so.
I understand that part.
Well,
That number just looked kind of weird to me whenever.
you know,
And I know there's just one person there. And he's only there 104 days a year.
Carolyn, what's the 5,000 on motor vehicles?
He wanted to buy another part-time or used vehicle to use up there.
Use it to convenience center or?
He didn't say, he just said he wanted another part-time vehicle. Sorry. Another used vehicle.
also they want to correct the amount of employees listed, because when they took the 2 part-time, that eliminated part-time, and they turned it full-time, that didn't leave vacancies.
There's still one extra part-time and all those positions are filled. There were actually 2 and someone in the part-time status resigned, so I put them out. But there is still one extra part-time person in there and all the positions are filled, so I can't eliminate it if it's got people in it.
Well, it was an unauthorized hire. Neither was it brought to their committee, neither was it approved by the committee, neither did it go to the budget, none of that.
That's the latest one that he hired. With a former employee.
That's about 3% increase, 2% increase.
in total.
Yeah, between your balance, that's 1122 versus your fund. Just get- it's between 1 and 2%.
The director did go in and make some other adjustments to some other line items. I went in and made some corrections on the payroll side. And then I did reduce out for the retirement and the insurance for the current amount, but he did go in and make a few other reductions in the budget. I didn't do those, he did those. And it did pass landfill committee without any issue. The one that you have in front of you.
Why do we have an increase in printing, stationery, and forms, unencumbered balance year before?
You requested it, but he didn't give a specific.
At 14, why would that be, Gary?
Was that
$1,400 printing, stationery, and forms when he had an unencumbered balance? $1,000, why would he increase it? That don't make.
You don't think that's what we're going, what discovered in the, all the adjustments are going to have to be made. And I'd say there's gonna be some equipment that's gonna have to be purchased, computers and things like that to bring it up to daytime.
They did get, the backup situation settled where they weren't backing their stuff up correctly. That has been taken care of. We had to do some moving money around in line items to get that done, and it has been taken care of.
Let's see, that would, one of the item, you know, on it.
The IT auditor was here. I don't know, she didn't tell me anything about what she did up there, but she was here in the courthouse. So they have on the second round to go back and look at everything again.
Does the state give you any idea, Mayor, of if the investigation is complete or if they have to bring it all?
Anybody, Gary may have more information than I do.
Well, they're under investigation, he'll be here when we make a comment.
No, I haven't had any indication. My only thing is that they're still working. That's probably why I haven't done anything.
We're concerned about more than he is that we don't have any idea that anything's wrong at all. But, there is a great possibility that we may have to come back after the first start of the fiscal year and provide more funds for them, depending on what they find in deficiencies.
Yeah.
Because it's not one of them that goes away. You have to take care of it right off the bat. It's not included in their request of their budget, which they wouldn't know anyhow until they report out.
Why have they always had disposal fee, the tires at 0 and now it's 10,000?
We have been working through the things in the right line items.
So it could have been a different one. Okay, that's what I was wondering.
The example I heard him say last time he was here was they have so many tires and then they don't dispose of them. They dispose at one time, that's why it was up.
I just thought it was odd that it was all zeros out, but that makes sense that it was in, probably lumped in a different line item.
Yeah, we've really been working hard to get things in the right places.
This is very big, very hard without. Does anybody have any other questions?
These were all new insurance percentage. Taking sidecar.
On payroll schedule two, there's some notes down at the bottom in red. Those are the changes that I made. So that way you could see a tracking of all the things that I did to change in his payroll budget.
Is this gonna get him in a pretty good start, getting everything in the right line? The revenue numbers are the same as they were. They are very conservative. And hopefully they can do better than that, but they are currently very conservative.
I don't want to add money to a budget, but that transfer station and a new demolition site's going to have to be something they're going to look at. I mean, that's coming around the corner. Transfer station about shot in it, Gary. So,
It's inundated to no end. It's overused for what it's designed is. It's only designed for like, all we have to do is put 15 minutes a day. Now it's twice that amount. Because it does with things that brings in the revenue to cover the cost of the other. If you look on the next to last page on the revenue side, recyclable materials 2 years ago. It was said at, 285 was the original. No, hang on. 143, use 122, 143. 285. But you show less this year on projected on the recyclable than you had the previous year, and you have more employees this year than you've ever had. So there's no balance on that.
That's based on what they're currently doing, what they were projected to do for this current fiscal year. Last time I checked, was at 29% of what they budgeted. And what they were doing the prior fiscal year, I mean, they were just blowing everything out of the water. They were making so much money there. And this year, it's basically tanked. Now, I know that the prices have gone down, so that is part of it, but I don't think that's all of it.
Plus, I don't think they were getting as much material when they shut those hubs down in the cities. You know, volume they were doing, recycling. So hopefully with the 24/7, the money invested in that, we'll get a quick return on it. Drive that revenue up out of the recyclables.
Yeah, even if the price is down, something's better than nothing. It's not like it's you have it constantly. So take what you get as quickly as you can get it, sell it, you'll get more. As the prices go up, then you'll make more.
Yes.
But they do need to make a certain amount in order to make this profit, or at least break even. And they're still at that point where they can at least break even or make a little bit of money on it, even with the down prices that are down currently.
Schools are starting their program, so that'll help. And then maybe we can reach out to some industry and stuff and see what the possibilities are there. We don't have many, but we have some with a high volume of cardboard.
3 dumpsters a week. It's anybody's that wants it. 3 dumpsters of cardboard a week that we pay to have transported away at my place of business. So I'm sure that there are other people paying the same amount to, even though it is recyclable, we still have to pay them to come pick up the dumpster. So it's 3 times a week we pay for it. I think many businesses would look at surrendering it if someone would pick it up.
Gary, do they accept electronics, defaulted, tore up electronics, computers? Do they do it at the recycle center?
Yes.
I think you down at
It's very
Cherokee Drive.
expensive.
Huh?
It's very expensive, so most people turn away and go throw them out on the side of the road.
So I go through one way.
Seaberry, Buck Mountain. That's just my neck of the woods. It's about $20 to set to take off the smart. That's what I wondered.
Take week.
I mean,
All right, y'all ready to move on?
yes.
Any more questions? All right, so let's move on.
Okay, so we good with this one?
Anything more questions? So,
I'm just asking because it's the second time through. There's the rules if it can't go through. I was asking.
seemed much clearer than the first one. Okay, so next up is just something that I wanted to discuss with you guys. This came up on Monday night. We didn't really have a lot of information, and that's about the $20,000 amendment for 911. Some of you, I showed this. Some of you may want to see it. The contract was never signed by either party. I don't really feel like that's not a kill deal because they've actually supplied 3/4 of their term year and they've done a great job doing it. So it's just a matter of that line amendment to make it, if I'm saying it right, Carolyn. But I think what happened, I spent a lot of time going back through all of our minutes from last January all the way through to budget was finished. And I know a lot of you are just coming in on this. But what actually happened is, when I looked at what Dale sent, I did in fact second that motion to give them 20,000 extra. Ross Garland was sitting beside me. But when this came out from our meeting minutes, as they were filling out the motions, and you can look at this, I'll pass it over to you if you want to see it. These things, the motions came out and they were all dotted with the motions all the way down. But when you get to the page where that actually occurred, in the middle of this page, there is a narrative. And then the one below it is actually, it looks like a narrative as well, when in fact it was a motion. And so when these got, I guess, moved over to the full budget or the full commission meeting, that was left off. None of us noticed it. I mean, our chair didn't catch it. Not one commissioner caught it. This is what we saw. And then as we go on through, you know, even when Attorney Hardin started doing his resolutions, it all bounced back to that 225 rather than what we intended to give them. So it's really kind of somewhat of a blessing that they actually went ahead and paid what they knew we were supposed to be paying, because now we only have to deal with the 20,000 rather than what we initially talked about. I mean, so that's just where we're at, because it's going to short them for their last quarter. But since this came up on Monday and we all were a little blindsided by it, I spent a little time going over it. If you want to see these, I highlighted them. It's going to be an easy enough fix. I don't know. We have time. It's June the 30th.
Yeah, it has to be paid by
It has
that.
to be paid by June the 30th. I have talked to them. They're not in a dire need for it right this second. So we actually can put this on hold until the May budget meeting and go ahead and get it on the agenda, go vote on it and send it over to the full commission. But I wanted you guys to know, because this did kind of start here with us. And like Brad said, we have a lot of fail safes. That one just kind of fell through the cracks. And, I can't believe I never noticed it. Our chair didn't notice it, and it's just, I don't want to play a blame game or anything like that. We just need to fix it. Because obviously we can't do without Carter County 911. And they expect us to do what we said we were going to do. So I just want y'all to be thinking about it. I wanted to throw that out there at you so you know what kind of happened, and hopefully we'll get this thing resolved and get them paid before the time is, we should be able to in May, and still give them an extra 30 days prior to when we should have it paid. So does anybody have any questions about that?
Very easy.
Yes.
There was a oversight. All it takes is a motion in the committee. It's already passed budget committee. The vote is valid. They're recorded. All it takes is the presentation to the main floor with a motion and it accepted, done deal. We have the funds for it.
So y'all can be pondering it. If we have another meeting, that is an actual meeting, we probably do, we can just deal with it at our next budget. Because next month's budget meeting is on the 8th, so it's somewhat earlier. And then the full commission is, I think, the 15th, so unless there's some kind of holiday, I can't remember. But
We do have 3 more meetings scheduled for this month. I would not recommend, if we're going to change one of them, to do it at the final one on the 27th, because I'm hoping we don't need that meeting. If we get everything done and there's nothing else that's returned that needs to come back. So if we wanted to change one of the meetings, the 24th or the 25th, to a meeting/hearing, then we could do that, because there's sufficient time to get that advertised. You just have to tell me basically now, so we could get that done.
whatever y'all think. I mean, it is something I would like to get taken care of, because we do owe that, and, we work with them regardless of a contract being signed. That was just an oversight, but, this is something, and we will learn from this, and we will actually make sure that we check everything again. But, everybody's sitting in that full commission meeting, not a one of us caught it. So, that was a full meeting and nobody got it, so hopefully we can do it. It's nothing pressing, so if y'all do want to wait and do this, I do want to get it on there. If you want to wait and do it at that budget meeting, we can do that, and it'll still be in well in time of when they need to be paid. So y'all can think on it.
Well, I guess my thought is there was a contract was never signed. Then my question is, that's a legal document. Without a signature, without signatures, we had no authorization to make those payments on that contract, basically. Because it is a legal binding contract with another agency. It wasn't done. And to enforce it and execute it, it has to be after the signatures are on the contract.
That might hold ground if
Without the contract.
we hadn't made 3 previous quarterly payments of the amount.
Contract's not signed.
Several
Contract's
years,
not
the
signed.
contract hasn't been
Yeah.
signed.
We've been paying Carter County Rescue Squad for years
Without a contract.
without zero contract.
Yeah.
That only came up
Just
last
saying,
year.
that's a legal contract. We didn't sign it. Past years have been signed, is that correct?
No,
No, it's not been signed for years.
You don't sign the contract?
It has not
Why
been
don't we sign contracts?
signed for years.
That would be a question for Attorney Horton.
I mean, if no past contracts have been signed, I'd have to abstain from the vote because I wasn't here when this took place. So I can't, in my heart, because that contract wasn't signed, vote for it. Basically, that's my opinion.
Then you'd be saying that half the commission would sit in there wouldn't be able to vote.
they just don't send it to us to sign.
This year, we do have the contract, and I also have the letter for them. Both of those documents match. So going forward, we'll make sure that we have both of them at the same time as we go through the budgeting process. And that way, there won't be any question about what it is or what it should be, and then we can sign the document once it goes through the process of the budget hearings and it's approved, and then there won't be a problem going forward. The other thing is I've created a list, which I apologize, evidently I copied it and left it laying on my desk and didn't put it in your packets tonight, of the outside agencies. So I'll email it out to everyone as to the ones you've seen thus far and the amounts that were asked that night. Alexis and Chad did a great job of taking care of all that since I was driving to Knoxville. I did try to listen as I could on the road as I was on the way down there. And then there also at the bottom of that list are the ones that still have not presented yet. We're going to try to get all of those confirmed to come in on the 20th. But then we'll have that list as well as a reference. So when those outside agencies come in, not just looking at what's in the budget or the ledger, or asking one of the ladies to, is this okay? I actually have the list and I'm going to go back and reference it and just make sure that everything looks like it ties out. So that way I have all the information before me when I sign those.
You was talking about the remaining hearings done up between the 20th, 24th and 25th. 25th you don't want to touch because that's the education department and you only got X amount of days from the time they're supposed to where it's supposed to be published in the paper.
Yes.
Setting in a time schedule. And that's what we ran into last year when Maccabee and the Fire boys decided they didn't want to do it. And that caused your office to have to go in and average out. And it was less than what they were supposed.
Yeah.
No more getting
Yeah. I did have a discussion with Gwen, and I actually was going to ask Josh tonight about the date of the publishing in the paper, because that's 30 days in advance. I don't know if that is the requirement for 30 days or not, because if it is the requirement, then it's going to be tough to get all that done in that short period of time. We're going ahead and starting to put the ones in. That's why I'm asking specifically on these, do you have any changes? So that we can go ahead and start populating that document, because that takes a lot of time to get that document populated. So we're trying to go ahead and get that started at least. The problem is that we're gonna run into is on the side of the revenue. Because we still don't have the numbers from the school system for the TISA formula, and that's coming from the state. And we don't anticipate having those numbers in time to have them ready to publish by May 1st. And the school, that's not the school system's fault. This is all new that they're doing this year with the formula. So we've got they're working on some estimates. He gave me some stuff this week that we've been looking at. But I still have to do some education on as far as trying to get some information from the state to make sure we understand how those work. But I don't know that we will have the full amounts by the May 1st. That's why I wanted to find out from Josh if it is a 30-day window. If it is, then we're not the only ones that are gonna be in this situation, because that comes down from the state. It goes to everyone. It's not just ours. So I've got to find out from him, and I'm also gonna call Lori, who is our representative in Nashville, and talk to her about that as well, because it's gonna be very difficult if we don't get those numbers after May 1st, or even if we got them on May 1st, we can't publish the same day we get them. So that could create some challenges.
Before the county attorney do budget was about the timetables at the end, like to advertise. The reason why it's 30 days is because all your committee dates, the last of the year, we're picking up the riffraff, but you can't make it if you don't do it 30 days prior. And then the next thing is, when we're looking at the calendar dates, we're only 1, 2, 3 meetings left. You gotta consider, we hadn't voted on a thing here yet. All you've done is heard. And from previous experience in budget committees, there's always a large debate. And that takes time. Chair. Next one is.
The next one is the 20th, and that will be the remaining outside agencies. I'm waiting I've already got some county government or county departments scheduled. Sorry, I've got a real bad headache tonight, so I'm not talking as clearly as I normally should. We've got several departments that are already scheduled that night, but we're waiting on confirmations still from a few outside agencies. We really need to get all those in that night. And so I don't want to schedule too many departments so that you're not here till 11 o'clock again, like you were.
Were they not given notice as to?
They've been given notice multiple times. Alexis has actually emailed, letters, and phone calls. So.
They don't confirm, then they're just out, right?
Well, I pretty much told her at this point, we're gonna give them a couple of more days, and then we're just gonna go with what we've got. Whoever has not come or to present, all the rest of the documentation she'll give out that night. She brought, that evening, all the extra stuff with her. I told her to bring it because I knew when I walked in here, there were a whole lot more people in here than what we were anticipating. And so that's why the last minute we were kind of changing the list, because she really made an effort to try to get all those confirmed and find out who was going. And we actually did. Anybody that kind of wanted to split off into another day, we'd let them because we knew it was going to be a long evening anyway. But we had about 5 additional people show up that night that we weren't anticipating. So we had everything organized, so it was pretty easy for her to hand it out. But we just went ahead and let them present since they were here.
But since you put a closing date, why did you put a closing date if we wasn't going to oppose it?
Oh, no, they got their stuff in.
Oh, okay.
They just did not tell us they were coming. There were a couple of them that said they just
The appearance.
did not realize they needed to, but it clearly stated in the letter that we needed them to respond as to which date they're coming, just for planning purposes, so that we didn't have an 11 o'clock night like you did the other night.
Well, the majority of them are city.
The city did ask to come on the 20th because they had several people that were out sick. basically they were not going to be able to come, and that was the only other day that all of them could come together. They all want to come at one time, just to be efficient, I guess. And so Preston had actually called me that morning, so otherwise you would have all those in there too. So I was glad they canceled for that night.
I might get to 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning there.
Maybe outside around the big rock at the flagpole. Fire, thing
Well,
put
I
it
have
on.
this, but Alexa sent me.
Yes, that's the.
Okay, so our
Let me see.
remaining outside agencies were Elizabethton's Park and Rec, the Fire Department, the Public Library, 911, First Tennessee Development, Isaiah House Children's Advocacy, Boys and Girls Club, and Clark County Drug Prevention.
Boys and Girls Club did also ask to come on the 20th. She was sick that day and couldn't come. So we had a few that did cancel actually on that
Supposed to
day.
be coming on the 20th. They're coming on the 20th. They're
Those are the
supposed
ones
to be.
that are supposed to be, yes.
But we need to make sure that every meeting hereafter is considered a budget meeting / hearing rather than.
I thought that's what we did, and I wasn't clear, I guess, when I had her put it in the paper that it needed to say both. So,
So the problem is it was nothing to go by because previous years, it was hearings. Anything voted when it got down to the day, we find budget committee took on the outside agencies for the vote. For the vote on each one of our departments. And at the conclusion of the meeting, the recommendation. And I mean, that's a lot. That's what was, made on. They were considered put the rest of the day in there somewhere in this hearing.
well, I did tell Glenn yesterday, we were discussing the meeting / hearing. So when we do the remaining, I'll have to get her to put it back in the paper for the other ones and change that. But any that we do in May, we'll make sure that that specific word is in there.
Do we have anything that will work?
I don't know. 20, 24, 25, that's already on us.
And see, the problem is we can add all your meetings are those for. You won't have any extra days until after the 15th. That'll be the.
I will also mention at the school board workshop tonight, and I had discussed this with Brandon when I met with him last week. In their policy, it says their budget has to be passed by May 1st. They will not have their TISA formula more than likely by May 1st. So he asked the school board to change that date or in that policy, because they won't have it. So we've had audit issues before with not following our own policies, and that was going to be one of them. And we all know it's probably not, they're not going to get it in time to get it done. I mean, we'd have to get it in the next week or so,
See your.
and I don't see that happening.
Committee has to be done and wrapped up, all right?
So that's probably what's going to hold all of us up, but it's going to hold everybody up. It's not just us.
Their mercy. We're at their mercy.
See, well, I was looking at here, the outside agency.
Folks, I think we've done enough damage for you.
Not just for outside agencies, this is the proposed budget.
Oh, okay. Signing another one.
Yes, so. At least one of them.
I have it.
No, I'm sorry.
I have it.
We'll do it again.
You want us to do it for maybe just to be.
Wear it out. I saw the blanket sitting there, like I better grab.
Anything else?
Next meeting is the 20th.
The next meeting is the 20th. It is again at 6:30. I will be at Hampton High School for that meeting, and then back here, which is why I came in here. My hair was on fire basically, because I had been in Happy Valley.
All right. Dr. Acuff made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Chair, nice job.
Well, second and third. By Commissioner Johnson.
He's still back on tour for his golf day yesterday.
Say all that. Sorry, folks.
Julie, who made the motion and who second?
Dr. Acuff.
I think it's the rest, yeah, it's the rest of the outside agencies.
Here, this just got that one. Did you?